Today's Active Older Adult video is going to focus on stretching and activating I should say opening the hips, the hamstrings, the pec muscles, so the chest, and the ankle. And why do we need to focus on these particular areas? And by the way, chair or floor or even your bed, and if getting up and down on the floor, off of the floor is a difficult prospect, then just go ahead and do it in your bed or on the couch or something. There's lots of possibilities on here. Okay, so imagine our head weighs anywhere between 8 and 12 pounds. And the pressure it puts on the cervical spine with our head dipping forward can add weight to that cervical spine. So if we're just in a rounded posture anyway, and then you add a remote or a device or something in your hands, you could put up to 55 pounds of pressure. So that's what your cervical spine thinks of your head and how much it weighs. So because of gravity, we need to try to open up some of these other areas that are lower in the body in order to maintain posture and strength. So this actually can go into a movement and posture piece also. I might actually load it on two different things. So this is more of a deep stretching. So just if you're sitting in a chair, just try to pick your eyes up and move your shoulder blades down into your back pocket, not necessarily back together because that just puts more stress on your shoulders. And just sit nice and tall and just try to make the connection between your head neutral, your back nice and straight, your rib cage will feel lifted and pulled away from your hips. And I put my hands on my knees just to maintain that posture. So if your elbows are bent, look what happens. Most likely this is your posture, but with straight arms, with just your fingers dangling over your knees, you might feel a difference. And use the floor too. So if your feet are in here, you may feel like you're going to fall forward. So use your feet to prop you up on the end of that chair. Okay, so if you were to move down to the floor and start with a basic bridge, but I don't want to call it a bridge. What I want to do is I want to call it opening the hips. And the difference is this. With the heels pushing into the ground and lifting your hips and glutes off the floor just a little bit, what happens is your glutes activate and the opposite muscle has to lengthen. So the opposite muscle from the glutes are the hips. And so just by activating your glutes, your hips are activated. So if we hold it here, pushing your heels into the ground, toes can be also just laying flat on the ground too, arms out to the side, and then hold, and then gently come back down. Give yourself a little bit of a rest. And your glutes are probably going to feel it, but just remember, we're trying to stretch here while activating here. So try not to confuse feeling it here and not feeling it here, even though this is what we're opening. So this opens up and try to go a little bit higher. Take nice deep breaths, looking at your ceiling straight above. Holding as long as you can, and then coming back down. So we can add opening up the pecs just by opening the arms out to the sides, because what this does is if we were sitting in a chair in that rounded position, it's really hard to tell if we are in the proper posture. However, the floor gives automatic feedback. So if your shoulder blades can sit on the floor and the back of your hands can also be on the floor, and then you can go into your bridge, not too high. That opens up your pecs. It activates your glutes. It opens up your hips. And yes, this counts as exercise, even though this is more of a deep stretch class. Okay, so come on down. So right there, remember we've got glutes, we've got hips, and pecs activated automatically. So now go ahead and I want you to cross your ankle, or you can lift and cross one ankle over, and again, arms out to the side. So here's one option, but what I really want you to do is, can you cross your ankle, open your arms, and lift your hips? So now we've got a one-legged bridge with a hip opener stretch. So this hip, just a little bit more out to the side is opened up. And then come on down, and then you're going to switch. One ankle over, lifting up, arms out to the sides. Hands can be to the floor or palms up, whichever way your shoulders are more comfortable. Good. Okay, so hamstrings. If you just pull your knees up off the floor, okay, and grab behind your knees, this starts the process of stretching your hamstrings. Then what I want you to do is I want you to straighten the knees. You're going to feel this in your calves. Pull your toes back and just hang on behind your knees. Okay, so that starts activating the hamstrings, the calves, and if you want to take the legs a little farther apart, that adds the inside of the legs also. So now I talked in the beginning about ankle mobility. And just by drawing circles, you can alternate and just moving the ankles in circles and also extending and flexing. That also creates the ability for the ankle to move a little bit more. And if you can increase mobility in your ankles, you may decrease the amount of falls that happen. A lot of times falls can be contributed to ankles that are basically locked and not able to adjust to uneven surfaces. That causes falling. So, again, if this is what feels good in the morning, just moving your ankles around, you'll feel blood flow through your whole leg and your feet. It's so important. And just ankle joint mobility basically tells the rest of the body how to react. So if we were walking and we lose flexibility in our ankle, look what happens. We end up sliding across the floor, and the rest of my body is not able to react because I'm trying to move the least amount of possible because I don't want to fall. However, even though moving more feels a little scarier, it actually is better in preventing falls. So, doing that bridge will open up your hips. Arms out to the side will open up your chest. And it'll give you automatic feedback with your head neutral on the floor. Lying on your back, pulling your legs up, it will start activating the hamstrings and your calf muscles, and just turning the ankle is a great way to get ankle mobility back into your body so your body can react when it needs more balance and flexibility. And I think that's it for today. So practice those things any way you need to, and we'll see you again.